Hey there, young grasshoppers, and welcome back to the Optimize Self Show, the show that's all about helping you rediscover your health, upgrade your fitness, and optimize your wellness, all while having fun kicking ass through lifestyle design. If this is your first time tuning in and you're kind of wondering what's this all about, well, I just kind of told you. We usually do kind of a Q&A format. We're going to continue that today. But today is going to be a little different. That's because in the past few episodes, for those of you that regularly do tune in, you notice I've been kind of experimenting with some new formats. I recently also revised and modified the Optimized Self test, which you can take over at OptimizedSelf.ninja/test, or just go to OptimizedSelf.ninja and click on the big red-orange button. But I just recently updated that. I think it is an improvement over version 1.1. Time will tell, and you can tell me as well if you took version 1.0 as well as the new updated version 2.0. And during one of our last shows, I tried to respond to two people's responses to the Optimized Self test, and it definitely went a little long. I think parts of it were kind of redundant. So here's the format I'm looking to kind of go forward with from here on out. I'm definitely not married to this. It is not cemented in stone by any way, shape, or form. So let me know what you think. But I think from here on out, I'm going to be most likely responding to one Optimized Self test response, followed by two other shorter responses from people who send in questions either over email or Facebook or YouTube or many other social media platforms that you can find me on. And then sprinkling in some fun segments probably in between or at the end as need be, just to kind of keep it fun and interesting. So let me know, as we go forward, what you think about that. But I think that's what's going to work best going forward. Obviously, the whole concept here of the Optimized Self show is, content is great, but we all know that in the health, fitness, wellness, as I like to put it under the umbrella term of making bodies better world, so much of the health info out there is a combination of misinformation, marketing, and social memes. And there's so much of it. It's hard to break through the noise. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. And so as much as I enjoy making content, I would really rather make content that is contextual to what you, the viewer, the listener, however you're taking this in, wants to hear about. So, in online marketing, there's an old saying that, that content is king. Well, if content is king, then context is God. And I'm more interested in making the latter. So you guys tell me by taking the Optimized Self test or writing in what you want to hear about, and I will definitely talk about it if it is under my area of expertise. And if it's not, I will point you in the right direction of someone who can help you out with that. All right, deal? Shake on it, virtual handshake. All right. So let's see. Speaking of things that people want to hear about, on today's topics, we have coming up Maira, not Maria, it's M-A-I-R-A. Maira, I hope I'm pronouncing that. Maira takes the new and improved Optimized Self test, the one we talked about, version 2.0, and we use the results to determine the cause and appropriate treatment for her chronic fatigue and lack of self-esteem. Sergio suffers from some hip and lumbosacral joint pain, but that's nothing a little lifestyle makeover can't fix. Tony inquires about the optimal way to sleep for proper postural alignment. Bryce and I talk about the key components to unlocking your body's full potential and inner flexibility ninja. Zach is being held back by limited range of motion in his shoulders, hips, and ankles, so we go over how to address those. And finally, Josh and I answer the age-old question, which came first, the lordosis or the forward head position? All that and more coming up on today's show. But before we get to that, I just want to take a few minutes to say thank you to my fellow ninjas and ninjettes. If you fit in that category, then you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, the ninjas and ninjettes are people who have joined the Optimized Self Dojo. Also, for those that work with me one-on-one in individual sessions or retainers, but especially those in the Optimized Self Dojo, because it's those people that have chosen themselves, have chosen to invest their time, money, and effort in themselves, but also who I so thank them so much for allowing me to be a part of one of, if not the most important aspect of their lives, their health, and being able to help them optimize themselves. So they are part of the Optimized Self Dojo. And if you're wondering what the Optimized Self Dojo is, basically the point of the dojo is to help curate the collective knowledge and experience of like-minded individuals who are interested in rediscovering their health, upgrading their fitness, and or optimizing their wellness so that they can enjoy leading a pain-free, functional, and active life without limitations. Simply put, if you want a healthy, happy, and fulfilled life, then the dojo is for you. And really the why of the group, the purpose, the reason, the driving force of the group is to help support you, if you're a member, or if not, if you become a member, to support you to become the absolute best version of yourself possible so that you can then motivate and inspire others to be their best selves. And then together we can positively influence others and change the world. It's also one of its key components or factors or purposes is it's a safe platform to help empower people to become their own experts, professionals, gurus, whatever you want to refer to those people as, and take back ownership and responsibility for their health. And there's really basically three parts to the Optimized Self Dojo. First up is the accountability / support group that's housed in a private Facebook group. This is where dojo members, also known as ninjas and ninjettes, that's where we meet. We introduce ourselves, we share what we're struggling with, what we can help others in, and we basically put our heads together. And again, we leverage off of each other's collective knowledge and, more importantly, experience to help each other solve problems and become the best versions of ourselves possible. And then we also, this is the second part, we get together weekly every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for live trainings, also referred to sometimes as hangouts, to talk about whatever is on top of people's mind, whatever's most important to you. We talk about that, we solve problems, we share, we teach, and we try to always take a stance of treating the body as an overall unit. And we're going to talk about more of this in today's show, but looking at it not just in terms of exercise or diet, but looking at it as in, everything from your breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise, environment, mindset, all that and more we take in consideration. And then last but certainly not least, included inside the dojo is access to the Optimized Self Arsenal, which is a collection of guides, resources, video tutorials on how to go about optimizing each of the foundations of your health. Some of them I just previously mentioned, breathing, hydration, sleep, et cetera, you heard them before, as well as some tools to help simplify how you go about doing those, basically streamline the process and making it easier to get from where you currently are to where you want to be as simply, quickly, efficiently as possible. All right. So for those people who have joined, thank you very much. For those who are interested in joining, you can go, or at least learning about what's included. I know I already kind of told you a little bit, but if you want to learn more about the Optimized Self Dojo, see if it's a good fit for you, just go to OptimizedSelf.ninja. I'll put the URL up here in just a little bit when I come on screen. And thank you very much. And also special thanks to those who have simply just contributed and helped support the show through the kindness of their heart, even if they're not a part of the dojo. Maybe you just made a contribution, $1, a couple dollars, whether it's a one-time thing or a monthly recurring type of donation. Thank you very much. If you like the show, would like to contribute and support, you can go to OptimizedSelf.ninja/support, and anything that you contribute to the cause, whether, like I said, be $1, $10, however little, however much, if it's a one-time thing, if it's a monthly occurring thing. I know I speak for myself as well as the other ninjas and ninjettes and those that haven't joined the dojo, young grasshoppers who benefit from this show, appreciate very much, because this is a sponsor-free show. Not to say I'll never have sponsorships on at one point. They will definitely be kind of whitelisted things that I believe in and use myself and spend my own money on. But for right now, it is totally 100% funded by Optimized Self Dojo members and my one-on-one clients and those that keep me on as retainers. So for those that fit those requirements, that description, thank you very much on behalf of myself and others watching. Last but certainly not least, before we get in today's show, I am also working on putting together a link that you can use so that when you shop on Amazon, if you happen to purchase something I suggest, you know, a little bit of that will go towards kind of almost as a commission or a finder's fee will go to support the Optimized Self show. And it doesn't cost you guys anything. It's just a link you can click on and then do your shopping on Amazon. And, you know, the Optimized Self show and OptimizedSelf.ninja makes a little bit off of that. So I'm working on that, you know, kind of in the background, seeing what I can figure out. And I'll keep you up to date on that. All right, so let me grab some water and I'll take off the intro screen and we will get started on today's show after I grab some water. And as promised, let me take this off, wave hi to everybody, and let me put up a lower third so you know, so you remember my name and you know where to find me. Give me 1 second here. And there we go. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm actually making this little logo thing really quick. I know I've been meaning to get a more permanent one, but it's craziness. So that's me, Justin Archer, aka Sensei, and you can find me over at OptimizedSelf.ninja. Again, if you want to take the Optimized Self test, it's just OptimizedSelf.ninja. Sorry, it's this way /test. If you want to support the show, you know, make a donation, a contribution, you go to OptimizedSelf.ninja /. Actually, it's kind of this way forward. This is really weird because it's flipped, it's reversed, /support. All right. So like I said, we got a lot to cover on today's show. I mean, the name of this is diving into the mailbag, playing catch up, and seeing what sticks. So obviously we're throwing a lot, I'm going to be throwing a lot at you, but it's great that YouTube, you know, you can, I'm recording live right now. I'm going to put timestamps in. I'm going to put mention links. So if we're moving really quickly and I mention something, go, what is that link? What do you say? Don't worry. You can find everything I'm talking about. Again, you can, there's hyperlink timestamps so you can jump to important parts of the episode. If I mention a link, I'll include it in the show notes. All this will be in the YouTube description. So you just sit back, relax, take it all in. And if you have any questions later on, you could contact me, I guess, in the comment section below if you're watching this on YouTube. All right. So let's see. All right. Maira, and I hope I'm pronouncing this, M-A-I-R-A. Maira took the Optimized Self test too. She's one of the, oh gosh, I think it's been less than 10 because I just changed it the other day. So one of the first few people to have taken the test. So Maira, congratulations and kudos for taking the initiative to take the test. And so for those of you not familiar, really quickly, the Optimized Self test is kind of a self-assessment or self-evaluation diagnostic tool, kind of a questionnaire form that you can take that you're answering questions and you're also able to ask me questions as Maira here is going to do. And in doing so, it'll help, you're helping me help you. And I think it really helps kind of open people's eyes to what is it in my lifestyle that could be holding me back or could be contributing to the symptoms I'm having. All right. So I will read you the questions that I pose in the form as well as Maira's answers, and we'll go from there. So I ask, when it comes to your health, fitness, and or wellness, what is the biggest problem or issue that you struggle with or have in the past? Maira answers, I'm always tired, or I don't have a good structured schedule. I also don't know how to cook, and when I try, I suck at it so bad and get really frustrated. So a couple things we'll go over just kind of on the surface, and we're gonna go much deeper into as we go through kind of the other questions of the Optimized Self test. So a couple things you can do to help with always feeling tired. You know, first and foremost, rediscover your natural breathing mechanics. Again, we'll go a little bit deeper into that later on. Get more and better quality of sleep. Again, more on that later. Eliminate high inflammatory foods from your diet. Learn to control your stress response. Move more and sit less, basically more active and dynamic rather than passive and stagnant positions. Exercise more efficiently. Stop worrying about the past and, well, sorry, I got lost there. Stop worrying about the past and concern yourself with the future, and surround yourself with others who share a common goal for accountability and support. And again, we're going to go more into this later on. And as far as not having a structured schedule, I always tell people everyone has routines, absolutely everyone. And even if you think you don't have a routine, like Maira said here, a structured schedule, well, then your routine is not having a routine. So even if you think, oh, I don't have a routine, I don't have a structured schedule, well, your schedule is being unscheduled. Your routine is not having routines. All right. And really the best way to change a routine or a ritual, otherwise known as a habit, is to change something small. And if that small thing is done consistently, it will lead to bigger, more monumental shifts in your life. So maybe it could be something small like after I blank, comma, I will blank. So it could be after after my feet touch the ground in the morning, I will drink, 12 ounces of cold water. And as long as you have the water beside your bed, you can make that happen. And that little change, if done every morning, will lead to a really good habit, a healthy habit. All right. So that's just one example. As far as you talked about cooking, I can totally sympathize with that. I am not the chef in my family. That would be my wife, but I help her out. I'm kind of the sous chef, and I do some cooking on my own, especially when it is just me around. If she's out of town or if she's busy doing something, then I'll definitely cook. But she does the fair share of the cooking in our house. So being as someone who is not, cooking inclined, I think I am in a good position to help answer this. I would say start with recipes that use few but high quality ingredients. Some of my favorite, and granted I'm biased here recommending because I do know him, is George Bryant's, some of his recipes, especially from his most recent cookbook. So you can check those out. But again, as long as you have high quality ingredients, you don't need a lot to make something that tastes good and that's healthy for you. Okay. Let's see, I asked if you could ask me one question about your health, fitness, and or wellness that you would like for me to answer on the show, what would it be? And Maira says, what would you recommend to build self-esteem? I had tough situations that had changed me into a timid person, but this contradicts the field of work I'm pursuing, which is a personal trainer. I'm a U.S. Army veteran as well. So Maira, first, let me say thank you very much for your service. I really, really appreciate it. And it's funny, you say you're looking to be a personal trainer. And I used to be a personal trainer, so again, this is somewhere that I feel confident that I can speak on, and hopefully this little story about myself will help you with this problem. You said being a timid person, and I don't think that as a personal trainer that you have to feel obligated to be very outgoing and loud and boastful. You don't have to be that boot camp type of person. Same thing as a lot of people will see the multiple thousands of videos that I've put out, whether it be, well, the Optimized Self Ninja YouTube channel is fairly new. I think there's maybe a couple hundred, I don't know, because I do short little 15-second videos too each day. And so there's those, and there's these shows and everything. And people will see those videos, or on my past business endeavor, thepostureguy.com, and they'll see that and they'll go, oh, you're so natural on video, and like I could never do that. And I'll tell you, the little secret here. It's actually probably not so secret. I tell people this all the time. I said, I am scared bleepless about being on camera. I really, really am. And I don't really think, and I'll just say for myself, that fear has never gone away. What has changed, though, is that there must be some muscle, or I basically developed this skill or this ability to push that fear further and further towards the back of my mind so that I'm not thinking about it as much. And really that just came from doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. I remember the first few videos I did, other than instructional videos for another business I used to be working with, doing like exercise instructional videos with my wife and I, and we did like 600 of those straight, filmed them over like 2-3 months, something like that. And even those, which you don't have to be very, it's just, hey, here's the exercise, do this. I remember hitting record and feeling like, oh my gosh, I may even puke, like this is so scary and everything, and now getting to this point. So I think a lot of it is don't be too hard on yourself, And again, not everybody likes the in-your-face, loud, energetic personal trainer. Contrary to popular belief, that is not the perfect fit for everybody. Some people love the high energy, of Tony Robbins, but some people, that turns people off, and some people need someone with a quieter kind of demeanor, and that could also still be yield just as much results as, say, a Tony Robbins type of persona. So again, don't feel obligated that you have to be that over kind of domineering, loud type of personality. You don't have to, but if it's something you want to strive to, I think it's just repeatedly trying to step just a little bit outside your comfort zone, and that comfort zone, like a circle, will like expand bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're going to be able to push that timidness further and further back towards the back of your mind, as I have done doing more and more videos. Is there's still that fear, believe you me, I can actually feel it right now, except before it used to be here, and now it's like way the heck back here. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Let's see, I think we covered that. All right, one more. If you can ask me another question about health, fitness, wellness, whatever, what would it be? And Maira says, what would you recommend for low back arching and also flat feet? Is there anything that can help? Absolutely. So I'm going to point you to two resources where I've already talked pretty thoroughly on these topics, rather than kind of show you right now. And I'll link to them in the mention links section under the show notes. So on YouTube, that's the YouTube description. So just scroll down and you'll find the links. One is, the title of the video post is The Difference Between Swayback and Lordosis. That one's really good for your low back arching. And then the other is Foot/Ankle Biomechanics 101. So go ahead and look in the show notes and check that out. If you're watching this on OptimizedSelf.ninja, if you just put your cursor over the video, you'll see the title at the top, and you can click on that. I think also over in the lower right hand corner, there's a little YouTube logo. If you click on that, depending on your browser settings, it'll open up the video on YouTube, since it's hosted on YouTube. Depending on your browser settings, it'll open up in a new tab or a new window, and you'll see the description area. You'll probably see a show more, and you click that, scroll down, and you'll see all the mention links I'm talking about. All right, so moving on, how often, okay, now we get into the questions, just for everybody else watching. I know Maira already knows this because she took it, but now we're getting to the questions that are really looking to find out some more information on how Maira, or if anyone else takes the Optimized Self test, how you're doing in each of the 7 foundations of your health. So that's breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and exercise, not to mention your environment and mindset, both of which are always influencing those 7 foundations of health. So let me grab some water and we'll get right into that. Okay, so how often do you practice any forms of meditation and or conscious, ideally diaphragmatic breathing? Maira says monthly. So what I would recommend is try practicing 15 minutes of conscious diaphragmatic breathing total per day. Now, I emphasize the total per day. You don't have to take a 15-minute chunk out of your day to do this. It could be, 3 5-minute chunks, or whatever fits your schedule. It could be 15 1-minute chunks, but just try to get 15 minutes in total per day. And what I mean by conscious diaphragmatic breathing is really focus on breathing into your diaphragm. So if you put your hands on here like Superman or Wonder Woman, on your pelvic crest right here, iliac crest, and just above it, where it gets soft, where there's no bone, put your hands there and breathe. And oh, there's Carmen there over the side. Hey, Carmen. She's our Optimized Self Dojo one and only canine member. But when you breathe in, you should be able to feel, you should be able to see there on the video how my hands kind of were pressed out by my sides, laterally expanding, kind of in an east-west fashion. That's what you want to be going for. And the best way that you can get that effect is to close your mouth. You don't have to like keep it closed hard, but just keep your lips together. Breathe in and out through your nose, and really shoot for a 1 to 2 inhale to exhale ratio. So for example, 3 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And what that'll do is it'll actually help calm your central nervous system, but it'll also help trigger your primary breathing muscle, which is your diaphragm, which basically is cylindrical and kind of dome shaped, kind of fits underneath the rib cage, goes here, ties into your pelvic floor, ties into your lower back, so it'll help with your lower back arching, ties into, I think it's on your pelvic floor, hip flexors, lower back, all that. And unfortunately, I very rarely, if ever, see someone come to me with chronic pain, with timidness, shyness, anxiety, any of that stuff, who isn't breathing correctly. Instead, they're not breathing with their diaphragm. They're breathing with their secondary or auxiliary breathing muscles. They're breathing up in their chest, their shoulders, traps, neck, and everything. And you think like, well, okay, you know, how big of a deal is that? And at first, it may not seem that big of a deal, but when you factor in that the average human takes 22 to 30,000 breaths per day, you want to, anything that you do 22 to 30,000 breaths per day, you want to make sure that it's for the better, not for the worse, because total health is accumulative. And sure, 1 or 2 or 10 or even 20 breaths, if you breathe in up here, it's not really a big deal. And actually, if you're doing wind sprints or running away from something really fast or doing high intensity exercise, that's fine if you're breathing up here. But if you're just sitting, having a conversation with someone, you know, taking a leisurely stroll, you should be breathing with your diaphragm. And if you're not, that's going to take a toll on your body day in and day out, that you're taking 22 to 30,000 breaths per day. Of course, more when you're doing physical labor, when you're working out, that kind of thing. Okay. So that's why that breathing is really, really important. And we'll probably touch on that a little bit later as we go through the questions. How much do you weigh? 120 pounds. And this is important for the next question, which is how many ounces of water do you drink per day? And Maira says half a gallon, so roughly 64 ounces of water. To which I would say this is really good. Keep up the good work, and don't forget to drink more on days that you work out and exercise. I know I'm skipping ahead here because I know Maira's answered, but I think you said something, I don't have it right here in front of me, but like 2 days a week you work out for about 90 minutes. So on those days, definitely try to consume more water because you're going to be perspiring that water out. If there's days that you have to talk or a lot or give any presentations like I'm doing now, you expel a lot of moisture out of your mouth. I don't mean just like spitting on people, but just by opening and closing your mouth a lot, talking, you have to replenish that water. Also, if you consume any caffeinated or alcoholic beverages, you always want to have a 2-to-1 ratio to make up for it, water to other beverage. So if you have a cup of coffee, that's fine, but just have 2 cups of water to offset that, okay? Same thing with like a glass of wine, something like that. Because I always recommend people trying to drink a minimum half their body weight in ounces of water, which it looks like Maira's doing. So something that we can all learn from Maira to do well. And the reason why is because proper hydration is vital to the length, tension, function, and adaptability of your muscles, myofascia, and other connective tissues surrounding, well, your whole body, but in Maira's case, the lower back, the feet, and like I said, the rest of the body. Let's see, how much and what kind of salt do you consume daily? Maira says regular salt and sometimes sea salt, maybe 3 teaspoons. You know, I always suggest using pink Himalayan salt or Celtic sea salt on your food or in your water to, you know, to taste. And why salt is important. And unfortunately, I think a lot of times people aren't getting enough salt in their diet because we've been made, especially in America, I can't speak for the rest of the world, that salt is bad and you should avoid salt and it's the devil and all that stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't consume enough salt. And so if they are drinking enough water, or maybe they're drinking too much water, the salt helps kind of like a taxi, or I guess modern, if I were to make a modern day metaphor analogy, like Uber. And it makes sure that the water gets to where it needs to be going in the extremities and the brain and everywhere that it needs to go. So that's why, yeah, you want to make sure that you consume enough salt. In extreme cases, I'll give extreme measurements, but right now I would say just sprinkle it on your food regularly, you know, each plate of food. You could put a little bit in your water. Something also I suggest is, and I do this myself, especially when I'm every 2 months, I take a week-long break off of caffeine to help my adrenals kind of to reset and resynthesize, give them a break. And during that time, I put 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt with about 8 to 12 ounces of cold water. So instead of having a mug or a cup of coffee, I'll have a mug or a cup of salt water, and I sip that over probably 15, 20, maybe even as long as 30 minutes in the morning. And it's really good. You know, if it tastes too salty, you can by all means dilute it with more water and you just stir it with a spoon. It's really, really good. So that's another good way to get some salt in your diet. Let's see, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how would you rate the quality of your sleep? Maira says 2. So there's a number of things that you can do to bring that to closer up to a 10 being, being the best. And Carmen, are you here to tell us more about that? She's just saying hi, apparently. All right, so first of all is I would suggest trying to turn off all your screens at least an hour before bed. 2 if you can, but I know that's tough and I struggle with it too, but an hour before bed. The reason being is because the blue and white light that's emitted from computer monitors, TV screens, mobile devices, all that, they really mess with, I believe it is your serotonin, dopamine, and melatonin secretion. Basically, they screw with your circadian rhythms. You wouldn't believe this, but Carmen is just going underneath my little table here, so hopefully she doesn't knock everything over. She wants to sit in my lap. This is live TV, people. What are you going to do? There we go. Can I get a kiss? Okay, thank you. So anyways, you want to avoid that in the morning and during the day. It's fine. It can actually help you wake up. So you want that exposure to that blue and white light. So that's why it's really good, first thing in the morning, if you can, to go outside, and get some sun exposure. In the evening, though, and in the afternoon, as the sun starts to go down, you want to kind of avoid that. So that's why I said try to an hour or two before, stay away from screens. Also, if you do have to use a screen, like your computer, use Flux. Basically, the way I explain it, it's a sunset for your computer. It helps you set it to your time zone. And then as the sun goes down, the blue and white light is filtered out from your screen, and only kind of the orange and reddish light is left. At first, you may think that's going to look weird. Honestly, only the first day or two do you notice it. And then you totally forget about it until one day, like me, you might go, what did this look like before when I didn't use this? You turn it off and your screen blinds you. You're like, oh my gosh, I used to use this like this all the time. No wonder my sleep was all screwed up. They don't have one for iOS. I think they do, but you have to jailbreak it. So what I do is I just turn the brightness down to probably about 1/4 or 1/8, especially in the evenings. Okay. And while we're on the subject of going to bed or turning the screens off an hour or two before bed, try to consistently go to bed at the same time. Okay. So try not to be 9 o'clock one night, 11 o'clock the other, 1 o'clock the next day, 10:30 the next. Try to keep it, within a half an hour range, give or plus, at the same time. And what you'll notice is you'll just naturally wake up at the same time. Okay. You also want to make sure that your bedroom is dark as possible. If you're somewhere in like a city, try to get some blackout shades, block out as much light as you can. Even little lights emitted from an alarm clock can interfere with the quality of your sleep. So turn those away from you, put little stickers on, make it as dark as possible. Use an eye mask if need be. That's fine. It's actually recommended. You also want to try to cool either your room and or your bed to about 66 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. You can do that obviously with your thermostat. There's certain, it's not coming to mind right now, but almost kind of thermostat, like a cover for your bed, so you can change the temperature up or down for your bed. Also, a really cheap, simple way that you can implement right away to cool your body at night is you can have your whole body covered, but just have one barefoot, just one outside the covers. You'll still feel warm and comfortable, but it'll help drop your overall body temperature down just a little bit. You'll get better quality of sleep. Oh, and last but certainly not least is, remember we were talking about breathing earlier and that conscious diaphragmatic breathing. Well, what I would suggest is immediately before going to bed, practicing 5 minutes of that conscious diaphragmatic breathing. Remember, in and out through the nose, 1 to 2 inhale to exhale ratio for about 5 minutes immediately before going to bed. And the ideal position to do that in is called static back. And I literally have a dog in my lap, or else I would show you that, but it's really, really simple. If here's the ground, you're gonna lie on your back, bend your knees, so here's your upper thigh, here's your shin, at a 90-degree angle, and rest them on a chair or ottoman. I'm gonna include a link in the show notes, Maira, so you can check it out. There's a video tutorial. My wife and I show you how to get into it. It's pretty simple. Lay down your back, put your legs up on a chair or ottoman, so that your knees and hips are at a 90-degree angle. And then just rest your arms out anywhere between 90 to 45 degrees out from your torso. And doing that it's going to do a lot of things. It'll help you focus on that conscious diaphragmatic breathing. But posturally speaking, it's going to put your hips and pelvis in neutral position, and it's going to promote extension and elongation of your spine throughout the entire, from top to bottom or from bottom to top, whichever way you want to go. It's also going to help remove rotation from your hips and your torso, and it's going to help you bring a better aligned body to bed, because a lot of people don't think of sleeping as an activity, but it actually is. You know, a lot of people would warm up before going out and playing soccer, but they don't think of warming up before going to bed. And granted, it's a passive activity, but you are putting your body, you know, in a certain position for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, however long you sleep. Actually, the next question is on average, how many hours per night do you sleep? And Maira says less than 6, but even still, let's say 5. To put your body in a position for 5 hours is definitely going to influence its overall, it's going to cast your body's position, otherwise known as your posture. Okay, and that's going to have a lot to do with your back arching and flat feet and things like that. So you want to make sure you bring the best aligned body with you into bed and you sleep in the right position. Okay. So moving on to that question, you know, how many hours on average do you sleep per night? Maira says less than 6 hours. You know, adults range from usually requiring 6 to 9 hours per sleep, closer towards the 9 hours. And so what I'd recommend, we just went over some ways to improve the quality of your sleep from where it is now, which is a 2, closer to where it's a 10. And quality of sleep always does matter more than quantity of sleep, but you definitely want to be consistently getting more than 6 hours of sleep. So until you do get that quality of sleep higher than an 8, I would definitely recommend trying to get in the occasional 15 to 20 minute power nap once or twice throughout the day. Perfect position to do that is the static back position, and you can practice the conscious diaphragmatic breathing to help calm your central nervous system and relax. So there's that. I say, what position do you sleep in? And again, this touches on, you know, your body is going to respond to whatever you do the most, not your best intention. So you might work out a couple times a week for an hour or 2 hours, but guess what? That makes up this much of your life. Even if you only sleep 5 hours of your life, that makes up this much of your life. So how you sleep, the position you sleep, is going to have a much greater impact on your postural alignment than exercises you do for it, even if your intentions are to better it. So, you know, Maira says she sleeps on her sides. Here's the problem with sleeping on your sides is that it inevitably leads to postural asymmetries, because you're sleeping on one side. It's going to shift one shoulder higher or more forward than the other. It's going to cause lateral tilts in the pelvis, one pelvis being higher or lower than the other, and the list goes on. So instead, what I would recommend is sleeping on your back with either 0 to 1 pillow under your head, more if need be. You don't want your neck to be hyperextended. You don't want to be like this. But 0 to 1 pillow, ideally shooting for 0. You can work up to it just gradually as your head gets into a better position and your neck muscles release. You can eventually go to 0 pillow. And then putting 1 to 2 pillow, in some extreme cases, people need 3 or 4, but usually 1 or 2 pillows under your lower leg, basically underneath your calf muscles and the back of your knee. That will help unload your pelvis and your lower back so that it goes into a more neutral position. It's kind of like a small, like mini version of the static back, which I made mention to earlier. And again, I'll link to in the show notes over on YouTube under mentioned links. But that is a much, it's a symmetrical way of sleeping. And, you know, while you're sleeping, you can either be doing your body good or you can be doing your body bad or harm, as probably is better English. And so, you know, you want to be doing your body good. So you want to make sure that you're sleeping in a position so that you wake up feeling refreshed and you wake up feeling good, ready to take on the day, not, oh, my back, neck, shoulder, whatever hurts, and I didn't get enough quality sleep. So how you sleep, what position you sleep in, definitely plays a big role. All right, let's move on. Do you eat any of the following foods on a daily or weekly basis. And I list 7 of the most common culprits, if you want to call them, or high inflammatory foods that people have intolerances or sensitivities to. And the 2 that Maira said that she does consume on a daily or weekly basis is gluten and corn. To which I would respond to her and anyone else watching is you want to try to eliminate these gluten, corn, and the 5 other common high inflammatory culprits from your diet for at least 3 weeks. I'm talking 0 tolerance, and then try reintroducing them one at a time, 1 per week for 4 out of 7 days to get to find out which you have food intolerances to, because these foods will most certainly contribute to disrupting your sleep. They'll cause inflammation in joints and muscles and connective tissues in your lower back and your feet. And also they will add to that feeling of timidness and of not being quite sure of yourself. So you definitely, I always tell people, an elimination diet, it is not a lifestyle. You don't eat like that forever. You use an elimination diet as a diagnostic tool to determine what foods are poisoning you, that are toxic to you, and then you get those away from you. You keep them out of your life, and then figure out what foods are replenishing you, that are helping you, and then you consume more of those so that you create a diet that is optimal for you. Because although biomechanically speaking, we as humans, with the statistical exception here and there of birth defects, we're all built with the same blueprints, right? Some of us are taller and shorter, but we all have the same bone structure and everything goes in the same spot. But biochemically speaking, we're very unique and individual due to things like epigenetics, where our parents are from, our grandparents are from, what foods we grew up on, the soil that some of those foods were grown on, or what the animals that ate the foods ate. We are not only what we eat, but we are what we eats, and even furthermore, we are what we digest. We are what we absorb. So food plays a huge role here. And I go much deeper and wider in the Optimizing Your Nutrition module. So Maira, if you didn't hear before about the Optimized Self Dojo, you can find out more about it at OptimizedSelf.ninja. But in there, I have a module that I show you how to go about doing the elimination diet, and then how to start building a diet that is optimal specifically for you. So I definitely recommend, if you join the dojo, to take a look at that. All right, let's move on. All right, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how would you rate your stress level? 8. So here's what I would respond to on that is, first and foremost, focus on your breathing to control your anxiousness, your timidness, or lack of confidence. Your breathing is the simplest and quickest way that you could positively or negatively, but ideally in this case positively, affect your stress response. It's really cool to see that we have as humans this power to control this. You can go do push-ups or think of something angry or upset and watch, if you have like a heart rate monitor on, your heart rate go up. And then as little as 3 breaths, practicing that conscious diaphragmatic breathing that I mentioned to earlier, in and out through the nose, 1 to 2 inhale to exhale ratio, you can watch your heart rate decrease, and you can feel this kind of calmness and clarity come over you. It's really awesome to see, because at first point, I have to admit, when I first was learning about this, I thought it was a lot of hooey. I thought it was just kind of like, oh yeah, positive thinking and all that stuff. But when you see it backed by numbers and hard facts and science, and you experience it for yourself, it's huge. As little as 3 breaths can make a significant difference, let alone if you took 3 minutes. So really focus on your breathing. It's huge. The technology, if you're interested in learning more how to control your stress response, your flight or fight response, a great tool you can use for this is known as heart rate variability training. It's also sometimes referred to as its acronym, HRV training, okay? And basically it uses the time in between your heartbeats to test to see how the quality or the state of how you respond to stress, okay? And again, I go much deeper into how to optimize your stress in the or your response to stress and stress in your life in the Optimizing Your Stress module. And again, that too can be found in the Optimized Self Dojo. All right, and I actually have a module on each of the foundations of health. So there's optimizing your breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise, and then I got 2 coming out for environment and mindset. All right, so if you do join the dojo, definitely take a look at that. Let's see. I usually would change my sitting position. Actually, I'm going to, because my foot's going to sleep because Carmen, our dog, is on it. Oh, you can hear from that moan. She's not happy about it. All right, sweetie, come here. There you go. What are you gonna do? Let's see. How many minutes do you spend standing/walking per day? Maira says 60 minutes. So here's a couple suggestions you can do to try to get that up from 60 minutes to, well, more. You can try working from a standing desk and or from the floor. So right now I'm sitting on the floor and you see I'm kind of fidgety and moving from position to position. That's not like a nervous tic or anything. I'm doing that quite consciously, or actually I kind of built it in as a habit. A lot of people ask, Justin, what's the best position to sit in? My answer is always the same. Your next position is your best position. There is no ideal or perfect sitting position for your posture and your health. Roughly, you don't want to go about 25 minutes or more if you can help it without changing your position, even if you have a dog sitting in your lap like I do now. Let's see, you can also make and take calls and have meetings while walking. And this could be both for business or family. If you have a family member who calls on a regular basis, and it's gonna be a long call, go out for a walk and, talk to them from there. It's a great thing since we all now have mobile phones, right? And here's a little challenge I always recommend people to do is try and go for an entire day without sitting down, okay? You can use a chair, kind of like how I'm using this ottoman here, but I'm using it as a desk, but don't use the chair for what it's actually intended for, which is for you sitting down. And that's tough, especially when you have things around you that are tempting you to sit down. But don't give in. Try to go for an entire day without sitting, and it may prove more challenging than it may seem at first. You might go, oh, that's easy. But it is challenging. But I think you'll feel actually physically better. And also, I think you'll sleep better. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times we're cognitively exhausted, because a lot of the jobs we do nowadays is we're thinking, but physically, if we haven't moved enough, then it's tough to sleep because our bodies want to move more and they haven't moved enough, and so that's why you're awake at the end of the day. Okay. How many hours do you spend sitting/stagnant per day? Maira says 5 hours. So let's point this out now, and I want to make sure, Maira, I'm not picking on you or anybody, but this is a common theme I see people when they take the Optimized Self test. So 5 hours to 60 minutes, or 5 hours to 1 hour. You're spending 5 times the amount of time sitting and stagnant than you are standing and walking. And it's important to remember that the human body is a stimulus response organism that responds to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters the most, not your best intentions. So, you don't have to get it exactly to a 1-to-1 ratio, but try to get it closer to that so that you are standing and walking and moving more than you are just sitting and being stagnant. All right. Let's see. How many times, speaking of moving and stuff, how many times per week do you work out? Maira says 2. How long do you work out for? 90 minutes. And here's the advice I give to people in terms of exercise and working out. Dramatic pause for water consumption. So this is very exciting. You've fallen asleep, haven't you? She's adorable. So in terms of exercise and working out, as long as you've addressed and are 80% or higher optimal in the 6 other foundations of health, those being breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, and movement, then you can really get away with very little exercise. I'm talking, as little as 7 to 10 minutes per day, unless you're trying to be a competitive athlete or training for a special skill. Now, Maira, I remember you saying that you were trying to be a personal trainer. So, you may be working out more for a specific skill. I don't know if you're trying to do any fitness model type of shows or anything like that. But if you're just trying to look good, and be healthy, and I always tell people, being healthy and feeling good is more important than looking good. Actually, if you feel good, if you're healthy and you feel good, you feel, very energetic, very vital, vibrant, you will look the part. I guarantee it. And really for that, you don't really need definitely less than 30 minutes per day. I would say for most people, you can get away with less than 30, or like 10 to 20, really. And what I would always recommend too is higher intensity, shorter duration. Always beats out low intensity, longer duration 9 times out of 10. Unless, of course, you are training for something longer duration like a marathon or an Ironman or something, in which case, yes, you do need to put in the time to build up that skill of being able to do long distance things. But other than that, if you're just trying to be healthy, if you're trying to look good and feel good, you really don't need that much. Again, especially if you have addressed the other 6 foundations of health. Okay. And I think at least in American society, probably in most of the world, but especially American, is exercise has been put up on this pedestal as the most important way, and sometimes the only, kind of leads people to believe the only way that you can overcome your health, fitness, and wellness issues. You just got to exercise more, and maybe it's exercise more and eat less, which by now we kind of all know is complete bullshit. And so I always tell people exercise is important, but it's part of the recipe. It's not the entire recipe. And so please hear me when I say, I know you're trying to be a personal trainer. I used to be a personal trainer. Exercise is important. I'm not saying that it isn't, but what I would recommend to you and everyone else is focus a little less to a lot less on exercise and focus more on living better. Because even if you did an hour of exercise every day, which also too, depending on how you're living the rest of your life, most people would be overtrained. But let's say even if you're doing an hour a day, every day, an hour of exercise, no matter your intentions, no matter if you have the best trainer and you're doing everything right, does not matter more. It matters like barely at all compared to what you're doing and how you're living your life the other 23 hours of the day. How you breathe, what you drink, how you sleep, what you eat, how you think and feel, i.e. your stress response, how you move, how often you move, how you transition from position to position. All of that matters much, much more than exercise. And quite frankly, the results that you get from exercise are always you're always going to be limited. Those results are always going to be limited by the accumulative state or quality of your other foundations of health. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Let's see, how conducive is your environment, like your work, home, peer group, etc., to you achieving your goals? 9 out of 10, so that's pretty good. And I always recommend people, try to modify and edit your surroundings to be more supportive of whatever you're trying to achieve. A perfect example is if you're trying to if you're doing an elimination diet and okay, I'm supposed to stay away from gluten and corn, like Maira and I talked about earlier, don't keep those foods in your house or your place of work, because it's going to take much more willpower for you to avoid those foods, especially in the first few days to a week when your body is basically having withdrawal-like symptoms from those foods that cause those drug-like withdrawal-like symptoms. And just keep them away from you. Yes, you can go to the store and buy them, but that's several more steps you have to take, and you're far less likely to have that happen. Okay, so that's one way that you could change your environment. Another is to surround yourself with others who share a common goal for a means of accountability and support. Study after study after study has shown that if you go into trying to achieve a goal with people who are trying to do the same or something similar, the likelihood of you sticking with a program, a system, a method, whatever you want to refer to those as, significantly increases. So accountability and support are huge. That's one of the founding reasons and components of the Optimized Self Dojo, is that built-in accountability and support group. Okay, let's see. What is your general mindset? Maira says hopeful, informed, and anxious. And anxious. You look at the term and it's kind of worrying about this, dreading this. And I know this is easier said than done, and it's definitely been said before, but try to stop worrying about the past and concerning yourself about the future. And instead, what I would recommend is try to appreciate gratefulness. Well, try to practice appreciation and gratefulness. I know they're very similar. About what you're appreciative and grateful for currently, now, right now, in the moment. And what that'll do is it leads to coherence, and both are precursors to happiness. So just think right now, what are you grateful for today? Just make 3 things, and they can be very simple. They don't have to be super profound. You're not posting this, making a whole blog post out of this. Could be a few words, could be 1 word, but write them down. And then I would start to make a journal of it. Actually, as a matter of fact, inside the Optimized Self dojo, where's housed the Optimized Self arsenal, part of what's included, you can check this out over at OptimizedSelf.ninja, is something called the Optimized Self journal. And part of the journal is regularly expressing gratefulness. Just writing 3 things that you're grateful for every morning. And that has a profound effect on positively changing your life. So that's a simple exercise you can do, get started with right away, that I would recommend doing. Let's see. Is there anything else that you feel, think, believe is contributing to holding you back from being your optimized self? Maira says, yes, my anxiety, but it's been gradually getting better. So to that, I would say, keep up the good work, and please let me know, if I or the other Optimized Self Dojo members, if there's anything else we can do to help. Especially if you join, there's a pin post at the top that says, here's how to get started. Introduce yourself. Share with the group what you're struggling with, and both myself and the other dojo members will come to your aid. I would love to have you on in one of our weekly live trainings, a hangout. We can chit chat more. But yeah, definitely lean on other people, like us for help, and keep up the good work. Sounds like you're on the right track. Let's see, who holds you accountable and supports you in your health, fitness, and wellness endeavors? Maira says, I do, and some classmates. I've already kind of touched on this before, so we'll briefly go over it. But, yeah, it's always good to surround yourself with like-minded individuals with the same or similar goals. You are, after all, the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. So it's important to pick, who you spend the time with carefully. And like I said before, feel free to lean on me and the other dojo members to help hold you accountable and for support. That's what we're here for. That's why we put together the Optimized Self Dojo. It says, do you know about the Optimized Self Dojo? Mary says, no, I don't, but I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, do please, because we would love to have you as a member. You can go to OptimizedSelf.ninja and learn about everything that's included inside. And yeah, if you want to learn more about it, you can jump to the beginning of the episode where I talk a little bit more about it. But basically everything on OptimizedSelf.ninja, if you scroll below the red orange button that you click to take the Optimized Self test, it describes everything that's included inside, all the tools, guides, resources, the accountability and support, the weekly live trainings, all that. Basically it is an arsenal of everything you need to become the best version of yourself possible. It's the most important stuff that I share with my one-on-one clients and those that keep me on as retainer. The cool thing is it's much more scalable, and it's really cool. That kind of in the group setting. So check it out and let me know what you think. All right. And let's see, is there anything else? Oh, what would you love to see in your inbox from OptimizedSelf.ninja? Maira says, information. Well, that is most certainly a given. Like I made mention to earlier, unfortunately, most of the health info out there is made up of a combination of misinformation, marketing, and social memes. And so the point of this show and the dojo is to crowdsource the collective knowledge and, more importantly, experience of everyone, to help you and others get from where you currently are now to where you want to be as quickly, as simply, and efficiently as possible. And like I said, that's why all the content for this show is in response to people's questions, because if content is king, then context is God, and I'm more interested in providing people with the latter. Let's see, have you shared OptimizedSelf.ninja with a friend, family member, or someone you care about? Maira says, no, but I promise I will. So Maira, I'm curious to know, with who and how will you introduce them to it, and what what can I do to help? Do they have questions? If they take the Optimize Self test, let me know. I'll definitely take care of them, and I look forward to have them join the dojo with you. So that way you kind of have you got the accountability buddies online, but it'd be really cool to have someone maybe in the same household or a neighbor or a coworker go in with you on it. Yeah, the more the merrier. There's definitely power in numbers. So let me know whatever I or any other dojo members can do to help, and hope to see you again on the show, and hopefully sometime soon inside the Optimize Self dojo. All right, thanks for writing in. Okay, so that was the Optimize Self dojo response for the day, and now we got some kind of medium and shorter questions to respond to. Let me grab some water. I usually move around more, but I've got a pit bull head in my lap. You okay there? All right. Here we go. All right, so Sergio recently joined the Posture Guy family and writes in. And for those of you who only know me from OptimizedSelf.ninja, thepostureguy.com was my last business venture. It's still up. You can check it out at thepostureguy.com. Basically, OptimizedSelf.ninja is the successor to thepostureguy.com. I haven't really added anything to thepostureguy.com since late last year, but it's still up. There's a lot of good info on there, so you can check it out. And Sergio joined the Posture Guy family and writes in, "Hi, Justin, this is Sergio from Spain." Hi, Sergio from Spain. From time to time, I have hip pain around L5-S1, which is the lumbosacral joint, basically your lower back and your sacrum starts to merge, starts to come together. Thanks for your videos, Sergio. So, Sergio, how you emailed me in response to the welcome letter to the Posture Guy family, there's a link in there. I think it says, click here to download the exercise routine, something like that. I think it's like the one and only link on the email, so should be pretty easy to find. Go and click that and download and use the lower back pain routine that's linked to inside of that welcome email that you replied to and wrote me from, okay? Now, that said, it's important to keep in mind that as important as postural alignment is and the exercises are, they pale in comparison to the 6 other foundations of health, those being breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and then the 7th, of course, would be exercise. Not to mention things like your environment and mindset, both of which are forever influencing your pain, posture, and performance. It's also important to keep in mind that the human body is a stimulus response organism that responds to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters the most, not your best intentions. That said, it's imperative that you use a system that treats the whole body, not just biomechanically speaking, not just physically, but the whole body, that takes in consideration cognitively, biochemically, and environmental factors. So that's what I mean by the whole body as an entire unit and not in parts. This is basically how the postureguy.com, how I evolved from there to create OptimizedSelf.ninja. It's with these ideals in mind. So if you like what you found here, by here I mean on the postureguy.com, and are interested in learning more on how you can benefit from the synergistic power of the Optimized Self system, and you're not willing to settle for anything less than leading a pain-free and active life without limitations, then you're definitely going to want to visit the postureguy.com successor, also known as OptimizedSelf.ninja, right there. I'll send you a link to this, so you'll probably already be on it watching this, and I'll see you there. As far as what's the next step to take, is to take the Optimized Self test, just like Maira, who I'm pointing above because I'm thinking of scrolling, so I'm pointing above. But Maira, from the first answers that or questions that I was responding to, she took the Optimized Self test, and that's basically kind of a self-assessment that after taking, you'll be providing me the information I need to help you better. So you'll be helping me help you. So go ahead and you can find over on OptimizedSelf.ninja. You can click the red orange button there to take the test, or you can just go to OptimizedSelf.ninja/test and fill that out and submit it, and then I will be able to respond to your to your response to your submission of the Optimized Self test in a future episode of the Optimized Self Show. All right. Also, while you're on OptimizedSelf.ninja, go ahead and scroll down below that big red orange button and check out what's inside the Optimized Self Dojo, because I think there's a lot included in there that I think would help benefit you. Okay. And what else? If for whatever reason, you know, neither of those seem to be a good fit for you, you can also always show your support for the show by contributing over at OptimizedSelf.ninja/support. You know, whatever you decide is fair to contributing is greatly appreciated by myself, the other ninjas and ninjettes, young grasshoppers watching the show, and all the like. All right. So thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you, you know, in the Optimized Self test, or, you know, hopefully soon seeing you in the Optimized Self Dojo. All right. Thanks for your question and for writing in. All right. Let me grab some more water. We'll move on to the next one. See, that one wasn't nearly as long, because quite frankly, I don't have nearly as much to go off of. Okay. So Tony Tran from YouTube watched the How to Straighten Out Your Swan Neck, also known as cervical hyperextension, video, which I'll link to in the show notes below, so you guys can check that out, and ask, thanks for the vid. Just wondering, what is the best way of sleep, or to sleep for good posture? To which, Tony, I will refer you to the How Should You Be Sleeping video post that I did probably a year or two ago over on thepostureguy.com, and again over on YouTube in the show notes, the description area under mention links, you'll find that. All right. I would love to give you more information. I just don't have that much to go off of. So if you would go to OptimizedSelf.ninja, and I'll send you the link to this with a timestamp, so where I answer you can find this. But below the video player on OptimizedSelf.ninja, there's a big red orange button that says click here to take the Optimized Self test, and blah, 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 some other words. Go ahead, click that, put your email in, and a link to the Optimized Self test will be emailed to you. You can take that test, and then I could, basically it's a self-assessment test, and you'll be supplying me with the information I need to give you better, more accurate, more specific suggestions and advice. So basically you'll be helping me help you. All right, so I look forward to hearing from you inside the Optimized Self test. Until then, take care and be a good human. All right, let's move on to Bryce's question. I'm drinking some water because I'm talking a lot. We usually don't do this much, but I got some catching up to do, so we're going as quickly as we can. Okay, so Bryce has kind of a not long, Bryce, believe it or not, I've got much, much longer emails than you wrote in, kind of a medium email. And he asked questions in different sections. And so I'm gonna read a paragraph and then respond to that, and then read a paragraph and respond to that. All right, Bryce, so here we go. Bryce says, hello, Justin. Hi, Bryce. My name is Bryce, and I'm currently a sophomore in college. I have a hernia disc, and after many appointments at the chiropractor and athletic trainer, I got epidural injections because I was still in pain. This was during my sophomore year of high school. I was always taught that I had to stretch, and so that's what I always did, not knowing it was actually hurting myself in the long way or term. After watching your videos, I have found out that I am condition 1, which is a postural type for these that don't know what Bryce is talking about. Bryce, I'm with you there. And I need to strengthen my hip flexors. I think it may be helpful for you to know that my hamstrings are extremely tight all the time. I will try out the many pointers you provide in your videos, but I do have 2 questions. So we're gonna get to those questions, but Bryce, first of all, the question that I would pose to you if we were face-to-face in person, that I'm posing to you now over video, and that I recommend everybody when they're suffering from some type of chronic pain or tightness, something chronic, is to ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me about the cause of my pain? And also keep in mind that muscles, they don't just tighten up just to piss you off, contrary to popular belief. There is always a reason, okay? And also, Bryce, pictures would definitely help. Postural photos, front, back, left and right sides, from head to toe. But condition 1 posture types, not always, but are usually short and tight rather than long and taut. But I'm going to take your word for it from your description. Okay, so just FYI. Let's see, second paragraph. Even after all that stretching, I'm still unable to crisscross my legs or do the typical old man reading a newspaper stretch where one leg is planted on the ground and the other leg is supposed to be parallel to the ground with its heel on the top of the planted leg knee. Sorry, that's the best way I know how to describe that stretch. All right. I have an extreme amount of pain whenever I try to do this. The same thing goes for the flamingo stretch. It's embarrassing how I can barely get into the position without it hurting me, screaming and laughing in pain. Even when I lay my back with my legs straight out and twist my right leg inwards, I feel a sharp pain in what I think is my psoas major. If I strengthen my hip flexors with the exercise you provide in the short and tight versus long and taut posture types video, will this help and will increase my mobility? Possibly. I know that's not the direct answer you're looking for, but here's the thing. Stubborn postural compensations are often a result of dysfunctional muscles and or joints elsewhere in the body, like the shoulders, for examples. So dysfunctions happen from within out, and compensations happen from without in. So if a certain part of the body, for example, the shoulders, is dysfunctional, then the hip flexors or other hip musculature or other joints below the shoulders may start to compensate for it. All right. And it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to totally get rid of those symptoms, the tightness, the immobility, until the dysfunction is taken care of, because the compensation, although it may hurt, it may be tight, it definitely probably don't enjoy it, the compensation is there for a very good reason. It is to keep your body from doing any more damage to itself than it already has done. So it's actually protecting you, even though it may not necessarily feel like a good thing. I'm going to move because I have our dog Carmen, who came over and sat in my lap, and she's not a Chihuahua or anything. She's a 50-pound pocket pit bull. All right, so moving on. So, how do you know what could be dysfunction about that's creating compensations? Well, functional tests are very useful for diagnosing this. If you're on, let's see, you email me on the Justin@thepostureguy.com. So if you go to thepostureguy.com and search for functional test, you should find 1 or 2 good videos that'll help you walk you through how to properly do that. And I'll try to remember to put them in the show notes for this show, for this episode, rather in the mention links. Okay. Let's see. Also, the results you get from any form of exercise, postural corrective or otherwise, is limited by the average quality / state of your other foundations of health, especially for what you described, especially things like your breathing, your hydration, nutrition, stress, and movement when it comes to your overall flexibility. So, breathing, if you're not getting proper blood and oxygen flow because you have compromised breathing biomechanics, meaning you're not breathing with your primary breathing muscle, your diaphragm, and instead you're breathing up here with your chest, shoulders, traps, neck, you're not going to be getting enough blood and oxygen to the muscles, and they're not going to be able to fully release. Hydration-wise, if you're not drinking a bare minimum of half your body weight in ounces of water per day, definitely more if you're more active, if you're working out, or you have feel like a manual labor type of job, then your muscles and your tendons and your ligaments and your other connective tissue are going to be chronically dehydrated. Well, what is dehydrated meat, or what is dehydrated muscle? Well, it's beef jerky, right? What happens if you try to stretch beef jerky? Either nothing happens or it rips and tears, which I know you don't want to happen to your body. So you need to rehydrate your muscle, rehydrate that beef jerky, and turn it from beef jerky to a nice supple filet mignon, which it originally was, so it can be more adaptive to the stimulus, i.e. the strengthening and or stretching exercises that you feed your body. Okay, so hydration is really important. Same thing as nutrition. You want to make sure that you're not eating foods that you're intolerant or sensitive to. And over on OptimizedSelf.ninja, included in the Optimized Self Dojo, which is kind of a private group I put together. I won't bore you with the details, you can read about it. But there's a module in there called Optimizing Nutrition, which I basically take you by the hand and walk you step by step on how to properly do an elimination diet and figure out what foods are harming you, that are causing systemic inflammation, which could actually rob your body of certain flexibility. It could also manifest itself in other ways, but I'll stick with what we're talking about now. So it causes inflammation of the body. Well, you want to obviously get rid of those foods, eliminate them from what you consume on a day-to-day basis, and then also find out what foods replenish you, which heal you, and consume more of those. So that way, and understand, I'm not, I don't ever recommend, I don't like blanket statements. I don't say, oh, do paleo or do vegan or do Atkins or have all carbs or no carbs or exactly this many carbs. Although biomechanically speaking, you and I and everyone else, with the exception of the statistical anomaly of birth defects, are very, very similar, if not the same, biochemically speaking, we're each very individual and unique due to things like epigenetics, where our parents are from, the foods they ate growing up, the foods we ate growing up, the quality of those foods, what the animals we ate, the soil that the veggies and fruits that we consumed were grown in, all that stuff. So you want to make sure that you're not poisoning yourself with foods, basically, and that you're consuming the right things. And there's more on that in the Optimizing Nutrition module. Stress is huge. And we go back to the breathing. A lot of people who are chronically stressed, they have trouble accessing their diaphragm down here. And so they compromise by breathing with their auxiliary breathing muscles. And breathing up here is fine if you're doing wind sprints, or you're lifting heavy or something like that. But you shouldn't be breathing like that all the time. And if you're chronically stressed, you are. And it may not seem like a big deal, but when you factor in that on the average day, the average human takes roughly 22 to 30,000 breaths per day. If you're breathing up here, that's 22 to 30,000 tiny shoulder shrugs you're doing. Oh, no wonder your muscles are so tight. And no wonder why that could lead to a shoulder asymmetry or discrepancy, which is the dysfunction that could be leading to the compensation down, say, in your hips, and could be robbing your hamstrings and other parts of your body of the flexibility and the range of motion needed, right? It's just like pulling on a shirt, and look, I'm pulling here, but it's affecting the rest of the shirt. It's all one shirt, just like your body, your skin, your myofascia, it's all one body. It's all interconnected, okay? We talked about stress. Movement. A lot of times when people talk about flexibility, they talk about just muscles and stretching. How far can you stretch? And it sounds like from so far in the email, you are taking in consideration not only what's stretching, but also what's pulling in a strengthening way. So that's good. But a lot of times people don't factor in, one, the myofascia, the glue that holds your muscles and your tendons and ligaments together, factoring that in. And the other is the joint capsule. A lot of times range of motion is lost not due to a imbalance in muscle length and tension, but due to the joint, like for example, the femur bone not sitting right in the hip socket, and just moving that slightly can unlock a great deal more of range of motion. So it's important to take that into consideration. Let me grab some water and we will continue on here with Bryce's question. All right, so Bryce says, my second question is, will correcting the way I sleep improve my shoulder mobility? I have shoulder pain whenever I shoulder press, bench, or do dips. I believe it is my rotator cuff. While sleeping on my back with a pillow on my chest to support my arms help this problem with the addition of, rotator cuff exercises. Sorry for this long-winded email. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing back from you soon. Bryce. Yes, sleeping on your back with a pillow on your chest to support your arms will help place the shoulders further back in their sockets and lead to a more functional position while you're awake. This is really good. I did include, earlier I was responding to Tony from YouTube about, he asked, just wondering was the best way to sleep for good posture. Bryce, so you might have already seen the How Should You Be Sleeping video. Sounds like you have. If not, check it out. It's linked to in the show notes. Where were we? I would also recommend doing 5 minutes of static back. There's a link to the video tutorial on how to get into static back, basically on your back with your knees and hips at 90 degrees, arms out on your sides, anywhere between 90 and 45-degree angle from your torso. And that you want to do that immediately before bed so that you bring a better aligned body to bed with you. Okay, so I'll include a link to a video tutorial on how to do that. Now, we're talking all about posture and exercises and all that, and I'm going to totally now undermine myself. I'm gonna swipe my feet out from underneath of me, because don't get me wrong, I'm just kind of joking a little bit, but exercise is important, but it's not the most important thing. Exercise is part of the recipe. It's not the entire recipe. It's part of the equation, not the only equation. So hopefully one of those three resonates with you. And that's our dog snoring, not me farting. So as important as postural alignment is and exercises are, they pale in comparison to these 6 other foundations of health, those being breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, and movement, not to mention things like your environment and mindset, both of which are forever influencing your pain, posture, and performance. It's also important to keep in mind that the human body is a stimulus response organism that's responding to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters the most, not your best intentions. That said, it's imperative that you use a system that treats the body as an entire unit and not just in parts. So if you like what you found on thepostureguy.com and you're interested in learning more about how you can benefit from the Optimize Self system, and you're not willing to settle for anything less than a pain-free and active life without limitations, then you're definitely going to want to head on over to OptimizedSelf.ninja, which is the successor to thepostureguy.com. It basically takes everything there and builds upon that. It still takes into consideration pain, posture, and performance, but it also takes off the single factor focus blinders that I used to once have, sets them down and goes, hey, posture and posture corrective exercises are great, but what if we were to zoom out and we took into consideration other lifestyle factors like your breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and then exercise, and then things like your environment, mindset, because like I said, it's what you do the majority of the time that matters the most, not your best intentions. So if that resonates with you, if that makes sense with you, definitely head over to OptimizedSelf.ninja. Well, I'm already going to send you a link, to the website where you can watch this episode. As far as what to do next, what are the next steps you can take? Well, if you're watching this on OptimizedSelf.ninja, right below this video player where you're watching this on, this is where I live in this little rectangle. Right below it is a button that says click here to take the Optimized Self test, and then blah, 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 some other words. Go ahead and click that, put your email in, and you'll be emailed a link to take the Optimized Self test. And basically, if you want to see kind of how that works, you can click on the timestamp over on YouTube where I address Maira. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Maira. And she took the Optimized Self test. And basically, it's a self-assessment questionnaire or form, and what it does is it helps provide me the information I need to give you better recommendations and advice. So you'll be helping me help you, and you can ask me some questions and I can respond to them in a future episode of the Optimized Self show. All right, and then while you're on OptimizedSelf.ninja and you click the orange button, take the Optimized Self test, scroll down below that orange button, and you'll start to see a description of everything that's included inside the Optimized Self dojo, and take a look. See, I think it would be highly beneficial for you to join. Granted, I'm biased, it's my group, but take a look, see for yourself. I always tell people there's a 200% money back guarantee, so join, see what you think. And if you have any questions, before joining, you know how to get a hold of me, and let me know. But for whatever reason, if you don't think it's a fit for you, you can also always help support the show by contributing whatever you want to the show, one-time payment, recurring, monthly contribution, whatever you want, over at OptimizedSelf.ninja/support. I know I and everyone else who enjoys the show would greatly appreciate it. But I always recommend people go with the dojo, because I hate really asking for handouts. I'd much rather say, hey, thank you for investing in yourself and in me and the dojo. Here's more value, and here's how I can be of more service to you. And that's what the dojo provides. So check that out first. I would love to see you in there. Love to interact with you more. Sorry about the camera shake. The dog tried to stand up underneath the table that I'm using as a desk here. Anyways, thanks for writing in, and Bryce, I look forward to hearing from you again soon, whether it's inside the Optimized Self test or hopefully inside the dojo. All right, until then, take care and be a good human. All right, so let's move on to Zach's question. We're making good time here. Like I said, usually these aren't that long, but we're playing catch up. All right, so Zach recently joined the Posture Guy family, who I guess is in the same boat as Sergio, who recently joined the Posture Guy family. But let's see, where was I? Zach writes in, hello, Justin. My name is Zach, and I'm from Port St. Lucie, Florida. Never been, have to check it out. My wife and I love to travel. My limitations are shoulders, overhead, pain in front portion, hips, slight anterior pelvic tilt, and ankles, limited range of motion. Cannot do pistol squats. For those that don't know, it's like a one-legged squat with one leg out straight, the other leg foot on the floor. Obviously, you're not hovering. Cannot do pistol squats without assistance. Thanks. Awesome. Okay. Let's see, Zach, since you emailed me from the welcome email to the Posture Guy family, I know you have access to to some exercise routines in there. It's basically the only link on the email. I think it says click here to download exercise routines or something like that. It's been a while since I made that one. But go ahead, should be easy to find. I think it's the one and only link on there. It's in the middle of the page. So download and use the shoulder, hip, and ankle pain routines that are linked to inside that welcome email that you use to reply to me and write me. Okay. And just like I made mention to Bryce and to Sergio, I'm going to now totally undermine myself, sort of, by saying, hey, exercise is important, but it's not the most important thing. And it's part of the recipe, but it's not the entire recipe. By which I mean, posture alignment is great. Obviously I started a business, made a website, put a lot of content out there, postureguy.com. I love posture. Posture alignment is great, as well as the exercises are, but they both pale in comparison to the 6 other foundations of health, those being breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, and movement. Not to mention other things like your environment and mindset, which are always influencing things like your pain, posture, and performance. And it's important to keep in mind that the human body is a stimulus response organism that responds to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters, not your best intentions. That said, it's imperative that you use a system that treats the whole body as an entire unit and not just in parts. And I'm not just speaking biomechanically, because the postureguy.com and what I have to share with you there does teach you to treat the body, biomechanically speaking, as an overall unit. You're not just going to treat the back or just the ankle. You're going to know that, hey, the ankle has just to do as much with your back as your shoulder does with your back, that your back has to do with your hip and your hip has to do with your neck. That it does well. But over the years, right, we all evolve, we all learn. With the postureguy.com, I very much had what I refer to as single factor focus blinders on, and it was posture, 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 posture. And it's cool, and that's good, that's fine. Except that, it's like walking around with your camera zoomed in. Well, we have to zoom out and start looking at, okay, if someone's symptoms are as an equation, what are all the things, the variables that factor into that equation? Well, posture and exercise is one thing, but it's not the only thing. And quite frankly, if we look at it from the standpoint of what as humans do we need, not only in order to survive, but to thrive, well, exercise is far down the list on that list of things. I would say in order of priority from most important to least important, you have breathing, then hydration, then sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and then exercise. So if you like what you found on the postural.com and what I'm saying to you now makes sense, it resonates with you, then I would highly recommend checking out OptimizedSelf.ninja. Hopefully you're already on the website now, and checking that out, as well as what's inside the Optimized Self Dojo. And if you're watching this on OptimizedSelf.ninja, just scroll down. You'll see a big red orange yellow button, which you can use to take the Optimized Self test, or you can just go to OptimizedSelf.ninja/test. And then you can scroll below that big red orange button and see what's included inside the dojo. So those are the next steps to take. Take the Optimized Self test, join the dojo, if you think it's a good fit for you. And if you have any concerns or think maybe why it's not, let me know. I want to make it so that it is of value to you, and it does provide you continual service, and it helps you on your way to achieve, to basically get you from where you currently are to where you want to be as quickly, as simply, and efficiently as possible. All right. So check those out. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to hearing from you, inside the, maybe in a response to the Optimized Self test, or possibly even inside the Optimized Self Dojo. All right. Anyways, Zach, thank you very much for writing in, and I'll talk with you later. Take care and be a good human. All right. I think we got one more question, ladies and gentlemen. Whew, I will make sure not to get this far behind next time. Okay. This is interesting too, having the dog right here. All right, so Josh Ellery from YouTube watched the difference between swayback and lordosis video and asks, "Hi Justin, just wondering, my back sticks out, but I think it is because of the muscles in it, because my hips and shoulders are pretty much even. However, my neck sticks out forward and back has an exaggerated curve. Does this mean I should fix my neck and lordosis?" Short answer, yes. What I recommend is start with the lordosis. And for those of you that don't know, let me get up now that I don't have the dog on my lap and I can show you. So lordosis is an extreme curvature of the lower back. It's an inward curve of the lower back, and it's caused by the pelvis tilting anteriorly. And so why I suggest starting with the lordosis is because often if someone has forward head position, their neck is kind of flexed forward, or their head is pushed forward. Correcting the lordosis, here we go, Carmen's getting up. Correcting the lordosis will often not only correct the lordosis, but it will also help relieve the neck pain and help reposition the neck and the head. Because, and this is important to keep in mind, I always tell people, your neck and your lower back, it's the same bone. It's your spine, what we in anatomy refer to as a segmental bone, right? And you have segments called vertebra. And so your lower back, your mid-upper back, your upper back, and your neck, it's all the same bone, So just something to keep in mind. So address what's below, just like a building, the foundation and how it tilts is going to have on a skyscraper an influence on what's above. By addressing the lordosis, you will most likely not only address the lordosis, but you'll also address your cervical, aka your neck position. Okay. But if in fact you still have a little, after clearing up the lordosis, you still have some work to do in the neck, then go ahead and address the neck as well. Let's see if there's anything else. Last but certainly not least, just like I've said, this is probably my third or fourth time repeating this, but you know what? I mean, if someone's watching this multiple times there, I can understand how it can be annoying, but this is probably, Josh probably just watched, this section, and I think certain things bear repeating. I think it's important to repeat them again and again and again, which I guess is redundant since I'm being repetitive. But I'll say it one more time for today's episode. Postural alignment therapy, it's great, and the exercises are great, but they pale in comparison to the 6 other foundations of health, those being breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, and movement, not to mention other things like your environment and mindset, which are always going to be influencing other positively or negatively things like your pain, posture, and performance. And it's also important to keep in mind that the human body is a stimulus response organism that's responding to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters, say every 23 hours out of every day, every 24 hours, that matters the most, not your best intentions. What you may spend, say, an hour per day exercising or doing posture corrective positions. It's not that it doesn't matter, it's just by sheer statistics, by sheer numbers, you can't outdo something or overdo something or compensate for something 1 hour and then do something else 23 other hours of the day. So how you breathe, what you drink, how often you drink, how much you drink, how much you sleep, the quality of your sleep, what position you sleep in, what you eat, how much you eat of it, the quality of what you eat, the timing, the combination of what you eat, how you think and feel and how you respond to stress, whether it distress or you stress, how you move, what positions you assume, how you transition from position to position, all of that, because you do it more than, say, exercise or postural corrective exercise, inherently that's going to have a bigger impact and a bigger influence on your overall being and any symptoms than simply posture corrective exercises. And it's important to note that the results that can be gained from posture corrective exercise, or any exercise for that matter, could be bodybuilding or strength training or whatever, are always going to be limited by the collective quality or state of your foundations of health. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that points out why it is so important that you use a system that treats the whole body as an entire unit and not just in parts. So if this makes sense to you, if this resonates with you, anything that I'm saying, and you like what you found over on the Posture Guy YouTube channel, or I don't know if you've been to the postureguy.com yet, you'll definitely want to check out OptimizedSelf.ninja. It's basically the successor to the postureguy.com. It's basically the postureguy.com grown up. And although the postureguy.com, I would say I'd count as a success, it goes from looking at just posture, kind of with single factor focus blinders on, takes those off and takes a more diversified, multi-pronged approach and takes into consideration all the variables and factors of your life. Like I mentioned before, those foundations of health: breathing, hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, exercise, environment, mindset. I think you get it now. So yeah, definitely check that out. I would love to answer give you more advice, more specific advice, but that would kind of be at the risk of just being general and throwing kind of some general advice at you. So instead, what I'd recommend you do is go to OptimizedSelf.ninja. If you're watching it now, on there, right below the video player is a big red orange button. It says click here to take the Optimized Self test, and blah, 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 some other words. Click the button. There'll be a little box that pops up, put your email in there, and after submitting that, you'll be emailed a link to take the Optimized Self test. Basically, this is a self-assessment type of test questionnaire. It takes you a few minutes to fill out. You can also ask me some more questions in there, and basically what that'll do is help me give me the information I need to better help you. So you'll be helping me help you, and I can answer those questions in an upcoming episode of the Optimized Self show. Sounds like a good deal, right? Also, while you're on OptimizedSelf.ninja, scroll below where you click the red, orange, yellow button. I'm bad with colors. And you'll see a list of description of what's included inside the Optimized Self Dojo. This is basically a private group that I've put together that is part accountability / support group. We also do weekly live trainings, aka hangouts, every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Usually lasts about an hour to an hour and a half. There's also included access to the Optimized Self Arsenal. These are guides, resources, video tutorials on how to go about optimizing each of those foundations of health that I previously mentioned, as well as various tools you can use to do so quickly, simply, and efficiently. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, like I said, you can find out more about everything that's included over on OptimizedSelf.ninja. Check that out. And that's where we go from there. So Josh, thank you very much for your comment/question, and I look forward to hearing from you, whether it be inside a response to the Optimized Self test or hopefully inside the Optimized Self Dojo. All right. Anyways, until then, take care and be a good human. And with that, we are actually got through all the questions today. I'm going to take one more drink of water and we will close this out. So today's show, obviously, a little long, on the long side. I want to get these a bit shorter, even though, with the use of technology on YouTube, you've got timestamps so you can jump to spot. You don't have to watch any episodes from beginning to end. You can just go to the important parts. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me as I try to figure out what format works best for most people. I appreciate it, as does Carmen here, showing her appreciation with a little downward dog. So like I mentioned to everybody, if you haven't already, please go take the Optimized Self test. You can do so by clicking on the big red, orange, yellow button over on OptimizedSelf.ninja, or just going to OptimizedSelf.ninja/test. If you enjoyed this episode, it benefited you, then please like it over on YouTube. Also share it with anyone that you think could benefit from these answers, or who would like to write in their own questions and get their questions answered on an upcoming episode of the Optimized Self show. I know they would really appreciate you thinking about them. I would appreciate you helping spread the word and sharing the love, all that good stuff. And it would be both of our heroes. So that would be awesome. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead, click the subscribe button. That's my pantomime click, I guess, if you have a touchscreen. If not, trackpad or mouse. Does anybody use a trackball anymore? I don't know. Do one of those things, however you do it. Click the subscribe button so that way you stay up to date on all the recent happenings and going-ons inside the Optimized Self, for lack of a better term, ecosystem. And let's see. Oh, and of course, if you haven't already, join the dojo. It's an amazing deal. And granted, I know I'm biased, shameless plug here, but I mean, just in the first year, there's $3,650 worth of value there. Each live training, right? If you, by all means, we can do them one-on-one. They're $300 a session. So that's 52 Saturdays that we do live training times 300, not to mention all the other tools, guides, resources, built-in accountability and support. And you can get started now for as little as, I believe the last going price was $22 to $23, but with every membership, the price does go up. So if you're kind of on the fence about it, I would definitely recommend, getting in sooner rather than later, because the price is guaranteed to go up and eventually it'll turn into a membership, whether it be a annual, quarterly, and monthly membership. Right now, though, you can get in for a one-time payment as little as, like I said, I think it's $22, $23 right now. So check that out. And for whatever reason, if the dojo doesn't tickle your fancy, you can always help support the show by going to OptimizedSelf.ninja / hopefully that's / you're not watching this reverse. Anyways, you know the one, / what is it, by the shift key there? Yeah, / support, and you can contribute $1, $10, if you're really feeling nice, 100,000, whatever. No, as little or as much as you want. Could be a one-time payment, could be a monthly reoccurring payment, but basically it's a donation and it goes towards supporting the Optimized Self show and the dojo, and keeping it, especially the show, keeping it free for people to watch and ask questions and benefit from. And I know I speak for them and myself when I say we would really, really appreciate it. All right, so with that, I think that'll do us for today. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you guys inside the next video. Until then, take care and keep moving.